Hey everybody, welcome to Read Into It. I'm Raul and today we're going to do our very first book haul video. So I like to go out to the local bookshops and Goodwills and see what I can find because I love books and I love getting books for cheap. I give away a lot of books and my TBR is growing, but I just love shopping for books, so it's a kind of an addiction, and I get some good deals out here. So let's go off with our first book. So I did two different hauls today. The first place I spent 14 bucks, and at the second place I spent around $23. Let's just say $23. So a total of about I'll say about $37. Let's say 40 bucks. Spent about 40 bucks today on books. Let's see what we got. All right, so first off, this book here found very interesting, the Books of Enoch. And basically these are like the Dead Scroll books, I believe. And I find this stuff kind of interesting. I actually haven't read anything on it other than the YouTube videos that I've seen. So I thought I'd look into this. I don't know how accurate these things are, but the Books of Enoch, Angels, Watchers, and the Nephilim. So, sounds very interesting to me. So, this next book is called Slaughterhouse-Five. But this is not just Slaughterhouse-Five. I actually read this book. When I saw this, I go, wow, I love this cover. But it's actually the graphic novel. And I didn't even know that a graphic novel existed. So, look forward to reading this. Great story. I could totally see it being a graphic novel. As you know, Slaughterhouse-Five is kind of like almost like an autobiography / science fiction, magical realism, time travel. It's like a dreamscape type of book where one of the biggest things the things that I remember the most is when I believe he was underground and there was a bombing and they had to come out of the ground. I think they were like in a warehouse or somewhere underground. And when his bomb hit, it basically killed off 50,000 people. So it kind of set him off and messed him up pretty bad. I could see why. So this is a graphic novel about the book. Next book is by Tom Robbins. This one is called Jitterbug Perfume, and I've heard about this book a lot and actually ordered this on eBay not too long ago and planned on reading it. It was on my TBR, and then I go here and go to the local Goodwill and I find it there for dirt cheap. So now I got an extra copy, so I get to read it and then give it away. So this one is something of a magical realism, a mix of Borges and Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So it's like magical realism. So that's what I've heard about it. So look forward to it. And I considered his masterpiece. This one I think has another one, something about woodpecker. Still Life of Woodpecker. That's his other book. So look forward to reading that. Tom Robbins, highly recommended. And then I found this really nice copy of Sea Stories by Admiral McRaven. So this guy had another book called Make Your Bed, and I remember he had a really big speech where you basically can set your life straight if you just wake up every morning and make your bed. So that's the kind of talking and reading it is. And Sea Stories, My Life in Special Operations. I love military books. I love military history. And being he's Navy retired Admiral McRaven, looking forward to read this. Sounds pretty interesting. And another military book I picked up, this one's called We Were Soldiers and Young. Okay? This one right here, I remember, I haven't read the book. I saw the movie long ago. Mel Gibson made the adaptation of this. It was okay. It was pretty good. So, I mean, it's a Vietnam War movie. It was pretty graphic, but I wouldn't say it was the best Vietnam movie. But of course, you know the book's always better, right? So I look forward to reading that. So here, a little bit different, something a little different here. Pick this one up. It's called Zoot Suit and Other Plays by Luis Valdez. So this guy right here made these plays about the Zoot Suit riots in LA. And I remember being a kid, and actually I remember a memory when I was a child is my sister going to a parade with lowriders in LA, and he was there, and he had actors from the play there, and I thought it was really cool. You know, zoot suits were pretty cool things to wear back then. And funny, interesting thing is zoot suits were actually banned during World War II because of the shortage of material, and they didn't want people making these baggy ass pants for and wasting them so guys could just look good and while they weren't out fighting wars, right? So and that also became an excuse to pick up on the Chicanos and the Cholos, and there was a lot of riots, and you know, you could hear about the Zoot Suit riots, you could read about it. It's very, very interesting LA history. Also interesting thing I read recently in Gravity's Rainbow by Thomas Pynchon is that zoot suits actually made their way to Europe, and the French over there would like to wear them, and I think they even gave some to Slaughterhouse. He wore a zoot suit at one time. Yeah, he wore a zoot suit one time when he was going through the wastelands or through the zone. He was going through the zone in Europe right after World War II was over, or when Germany lost. So very interesting that zoot suits made their way from LA to Europe, and those guys are wearing zoot suits. Just that kind of blew my mind. But anyways, interesting story. I look forward to reading that and learning more about that. So this one was a pretty cool find that I didn't know and didn't realize until I got home. This one is Darkdawn by Kristoff, and Kristoff actually wrote Empire of the Vampire. And this one right here, the cool thing about this one is it's actually a signed first edition. And I didn't know this when I got this at the Goodwill. So yeah, I found me a signed first edition by Kristoff. How cool is that? Yeah, I thought that was a pretty good find there. So look forward to reading this. Of course, this is book 3 of the Nevernight Chronicles. So I'll have to wait till I can pick up the other 2 on the cheap, of course, before I read and start that. And actually, I'm going to finish the Empire of the Vampire series because I'm on book 2 of that one. Man, that's a good book. So then I found a copy of this right here, Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This one right here is my favorite science fiction book of all time. And it's in the top 5 of my favorite books of all time. This right here is so good, so interesting, so addicting. It's a page turner, and it's just well thought of, and just it's amazing how Adrian Tchaikovsky made space spiders more interesting than the humans involved in it. So yeah, a great book. If you haven't had a chance to read this, I highly recommend it. Of course, I already had a copy, so I got this copy here that I plan on giving it away. At times I'll go and drop them off at veterans places where I'll donate books to veterans, or a lot of times I give books to my neighbors and my friends and my family. So this is one I highly recommend, so be definitely giving that one away. So the last book I got at that first joint was this one right here, called The Odyssey by Homer, translated by Emily Wilson. Now, the reason I really like this one is I read the Fagles, I believe the Fagles translation, and that was okay. But the second time I read the Odyssey, I read the Emily Wilson one, and it just was easier accessible. I really enjoyed it more. I know there's a controversy because she's the first female to write a translation on Homer or the Iliad and the Odyssey, and I think she did one for Aeneid by Virgil. But I didn't find anything feminist about it or anything like that. It didn't detract from the book itself. This thing is a kick-ass action book, and it got the movie coming up, so I figured I'd read it again. And that movie is based off of this, and that's another reason why it has a controversy. But I'd ignore all that. Read the book, check it out. Pick this up if you can. I highly recommend this one. Again, Emily Wilson. It has the French flaps in there. Has the uneven pages. I forget the name for it. But the uneven page, I really like it. It just feels good in your hand. This is a great, great copy. Good find. So all those books right there, 14 books. Actually, $14.50. Not a bad deal. Okay, so let's move over to the next set of books that I found. So this one is, this is an actually really cool old copy of Herodotus, the historian Herodotus. So basically he writes about the histories of Greece and Persia and the different wars. This is the second volume. I wasn't able to find the first volume. That's a bummer. I wish I would have found the first and second volume. That would have been a good little set. But these look pretty cool. Thing about Herodotus is they said that he greatest historian, but also call him a liar because a lot of the stuff he writes about can't be confirmed. But that's most historians, right? So then another, speaking of history books, so this is another fiction. Well, this one is actually fictional history by Bernard Cornwell. Bernard Cornwell, and this is Agincourt or Agincourt. I want to say Agincourt. What could be Agincourt? So this is basically action, medieval historical book. So look forward to reading that. Bernard Cornwell, highly touted fictional writer. So then we found another military book here that I got. This one's called The Twilight War, okay, by David Crist. And this book right here is The Secret History of America's 30-Year Conflict with Iran, which it was 30 years when this book came out, and so it's a lot more than that. But I found this very fitting, and I felt like, I saw this interested me. I'd like to read up on what's going on with Iran and get a little more knowledge on the history of it. Interesting book. Look forward to reading that. So then, picked up this one right here. This one's called James Joyce, the Reader's Guide to James Joyce. So I recently read Ulysses, and I look forward to rereading it again because that one was way over my head. But now that I've read I read Ulysses before I read the Odyssey, so don't do that. Read the Odyssey before you read Ulysses because it's based off of the Odyssey, but it's in one day and in Dublin. So I picked this up here because I plan on learning more about James Joyce because he is one of the great writers, and hopefully one of these days it'll get me ready to read Finnegan's Wake. But I got Dubliners, looking forward to reading that. So let's bring some more books here. So this one is The Modern Masters, okay? So this one's The Modern Masters. This one has Anderson, Chekhov, Conrad, Faulkner, James Joyce, Lawrence, Mansfield, and O'Connor, Flannery O'Connor. So it's a bunch of the anthology of the short stories. So it's a bunch of short stories by these greats. So I look forward to that. I actually look forward to reading the Chekhov and the Flannery O'Connor ones. All those guys are great. Next book here is a text and criticism of The Grapes of Wrath. Okay, so I'm a big John Steinbeck fan, and I love reading companion books because I love when they give you a better insight and a higher deep dive. So the deeper dive into the book where they break down more about the history. And of course, Grapes of Wrath is a kind of a version of an American version of the Exodus. And John Steinbeck likes writing books like that, and I believe it's going to be very interesting to see what they talk about in this book. So another book here that I just picked, I just picked this one up just for shits and giggles. This one is Speed Reading by Tony Buzan. Now, I wouldn't consider myself a speed reader, but I do read pretty fast. I do like doing hybrid reading where, I'll listen to an audiobook fast. and read along as I'm going through the audiobook and go through it quicker. This is more of a, you got to do the exercises where you can just look at the middle of a page and get the whole book. I don't know if you're going to get much comprehension that way. I believe you get more comprehension when you read it out loud, especially with the more difficult books like the Pynchon and the McCormick McCarthy's. Okay, so here's another book by Steinbeck. It's a really cool little pocket book here, a penguin book. John Steinbeck's Tortilla Flat. Again, really cool book. Plan on giving that one away. And I found another copy of Children of Time here. Found another copy of Children of Time. Picked this up, Adrian Tchaikovsky. Found that very interesting. Next book I found here was Wilkie Collins, The Moonstone, which is considered the very first detective novel ever written back in 1868. So that interested me. And I just heard about this recently. So I'm like, oh, okay, very first detective novel. Let's see what set it up for everybody else. I found that interesting. As when something's the first, you got to check it out, right? So then I picked up this here, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, which is a really beautiful little cloth cover. I believe this is one of those Barnes & Noble classics. Very, very cool. I think, it's actually a Penguin Classics. Penguin Classics, very cool. This one, my wife really loves these different colored and decorated books, and she's going to really enjoy that one. Another book I found here, Oscar Wilde, The Complete Work. So this is the guy who wrote the picture of Dorian Gray. Also has A Canterville Ghost, The Importance of Being Earnest, An Ideal Husband, The Ballad of Reading Gaol, De Profundis, and more. This is a real chunker. Look forward to reading those short books. Oscar Wilde is somebody that I've been wanting to get a deep dive into, checking out the books. Another military book here I picked up is The Trident. This is basically the forging and the reforging of a Navy SEAL leader. I love military books. I love reading books about Navy SEALs. That one I look forward to. Another thing that really fascinates me is Mayan culture, Mayan literature. And this one right here is a kind of a mystery detective book about how they came across and figured out what the codes are for the Mayan codes. I mean, I don't know how much of it is relevant to today, because I've heard there's even been more findings in the code, but I find that very interesting. I like hearing and reading about about hieroglyphics and other books like that. So really look forward to checking that out. This one right here is, I just thought it was a beautiful, nice copy of Tom Wolfe, A Man in Full. I guess he wrote the Vanity of the Bonfires, and it's basically about rich dudes in Atlanta and the problems rich people have in Atlanta. So found that interesting. Okay, moving on to the next set of books here. We're almost done. Native Son by Richard Wright. So I look forward to reading this here. It's been on my TBR list of books to check out. So a little bit of looking forward to reading that. Another little book here that I picked up here. Probably going to give this away. I already had an extra copy of this. So this is Leo Tolstoy. This is something, if you want to jump into Leo Tolstoy, this is like your gateway to him. The Death of Ivan Ilyich and other stories. Death of Ivan Ilyich is actually a great book on what to do with your life and not let yourself waste your life. So this was a Virginia Woolf book. I haven't read any Virginia Woolf, and I guess this is an essay on feminism. So nothing wrong with reading about that. Check it out. Learn more about that. So then next book here is Steinbeck, A Life in Letters. Again, I'm a big John Steinbeck, so anything with him that I don't have, I like to collect it and pick it up, read it, and eventually, if I like it, keep it. If not, get rid of it. But I like Steinbeck. So last but not least is this one right here by Sandra Cisneros, This is called The House on Mango Street. And I guess this is something that is almost, I think believe it's like mandatory reading in certain areas. So it's a Chicana growing up in Chicago and becoming, you know, and writing little vignettes, sort of little short stories, 1 or 2 page stories that I haven't had a chance to read, but it's something I believe you can read like in an afternoon. So that's the whole list of books that I got. I think I found some good books. Which books do you think were cool? Which ones did you like the most? Are there other books that have you found any books recently that were, you know, very interesting? And if you guys like this kind of video, let me know. I'll do more of these. So thanks for watching and subscribe. There'll be more videos coming up and look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Peace.